Jet fans, put your seatbelts on. We've just landed some new faces in free agency, and we're going to break down what these moves mean for our New York Jets. Stay tuned to find out how these players could turn the tides for the Jets this season and beyond. What's going on, Jets fans? I'm Julian Lacasso, joined by my co-host, as always, Nick Perry, and this is the Gang Green Report. Guys, if you're tuning in, hit that like button on your way in and subscribe to the channel for more Jets content all off season long. But we also want to hear from you as well, and we want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of the moves that the Jets have made so far in free agency? Are you happy, confused, pissed off? Sound off in the comments below and let us know. But let's get into this video as of right now, guys. So after what seemed to be like one of the most uneventful days of Jets free agency history, the Jets made a ton of moves over the course of the last several days. The best word that I can use to describe these moves is just depth. They didn't go out and grab top end of the market guys. They didn't spend a big amount of money or hand out long-term deals. No, we saw Darren, Mougey, and the front office attack depth at both the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. So let's talk about it. Number one is Rashad Weaver, defensive end from the Tennessee Titans and a little bit with the Houston Texans. Rashad was signed for a one-year contract. He was a fourth-round pick by the Titans in 2021. Weaver has appeared in 36 career games and had 5.5 sacks in 2002. That was pretty much his lone breakout season. He then kind of had a falling out with the Tennessee Titans afterwards. Saw some time on the Texans practice squad last season and only had about 14 snaps on the season. The biggest theme we're kind of seeing with a lot of these day 3 and 4 signings is that Mougey is banking on youth and upside. So, Weaver was a former fourth round pick with a lot of raw talent, size 6'4", 260 pounds, and he's only 27 years old. You're trying to get the most out of someone in a new system with new coaching staff as a rotational edge slot. So I don't really see this as somebody who's going to be a starter for the New York Jets in 2025 or even beyond that. We don't even know if he's going to be on the team past this year alone. But at the most, this is going to be a rotational guy. This is your third, fourth edge on your depth chart that can sub in during certain packages or certain down and distances. Nick, how do we feel about Rashad Weaver?
Yeah, I think ever since we found out about him yesterday, I think definitely looking back on him, he shows major upside from 5.5 sacks in 2022, like you said. He's not going to be that guy who's going to come in, who's going to be like Willie D or Jermaine Johnson, come back healthy. He's going to be like that Bryce Huff coming off for us. Hopefully, just can blow up offensive lines. Like you said, this is a very deep draft for edge as well. So we could always power in somebody at kind of like that third rotation spot and then fit him in at 4, put the rookie at 4, put him at 3. I think these are all such good depth pieces. 6'4", 260, great. Good speed, very good speed. Again, a big hit on this system is speed. And I think that Darren Mougey and AG kind of nailed this one again. It's a really good, I think, depth piece. He shows that he has that kind of essence of a system that's going to work for us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this isn't going to be like a home run signing. This isn't any like household name, but this is going to be a guy that's going to come in and be a rotational piece for you on your team. So I don't think he's going to be out here getting 10 plus sacks, but if he can contribute 5 to 6 sacks and have a good resurgence year with this new system, with this new coaching staff, you're banking on upside, and this is somebody that we can potentially use on the defensive line. We're very slim at the position right now. We have a bunch of the UDFAs that we had from last year, and I don't think they're going to be anybody that's going to really contribute. Obviously, they didn't do much for us last season. There's some decent bodies, some good names to have. They'll compete in camp, but at the end of the day, this is just a rotational guy. So I'm not seeing anything that's going to be groundbreaking here. But the next guy on the list is Isaiah Oliver, and this is somebody that we're actually bringing back on a one-year contract. He's a guy that is a versatile piece in this defense. Played about 576 snaps last season, majority of which came in the slot and in the box. Can play corner and safety, so played a lot in the slot as a nickel corner when Michael Carter went down with his injuries several times. He was injured throughout the entire season. So having a guy like Oliver that can come in a pinch and be your slot corner could be really helpful for this team. Again, we're also keeping a guy in-house that has some familiarity with the system and a new DC, Steve Wilkes. He worked with him when he was in San Francisco. In that time, had a 70.9 coverage grade and had an interception and 22 stops in his system. So this is a guy that was successful in that system. Again, didn't have groundbreaking numbers in interceptions. He only had the one lone interception, but he still was very versatile and could be utilized in that system pretty well. So this is a rotational safety and a slot corner depth in-house. I like the signing. I knew that this was probably going to be somebody that we were going to keep around for that reason. But Nick, give us your opinion on Isaiah Oliver as well.
Yeah, I think last year when he stepped in for Michael Carter when he went down with injuries, he played pretty decent for us. He played well. And I think coming in now with the defensive coordinator, last year was I feel like it was kind of a sticky situation. Kind of Saleh gets let go middle of the season. Ulbrich goes to head coach, might put the defense that he was calling on the back burner a little bit. But I think Oliver still stepped up and played pretty well. And now that Wilkes is coming in back from his San Francisco days, I think he can get back up to into that coverage safety nickel corner that we knew him to be and why we got him. Again, a great depth piece. Like I said, I don't think we're done adding. Well, maybe now, but in the draft, grabbing like a safety or another corner, just with Michael Carter's injuries. But I think, again, it's another great depth piece. I think it's going to be like a theme in today that we've seen is depth. This is totally unlike any kind of Jets offseason we've seen in the past 2 years, 3 years, going back to Joe Douglas, Mike Gannon, and all them. Yeah, but I think he's good. He's a good rotation piece for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like the cool thing about it is I don't think we're done. Like you said, I don't think we're done adding at the safety position. I mean, there's still a couple of big names out there that I think that they should look at. I mean, as we've kind of noticed, the theme really is that Mougey doesn't seem like he's handing out big time deals to anybody. So a guy that I like that's still on the market is that at least fits the bill for what he's going for is Julian Blackmon from the Colts. Still a really young, talented player at the safety position, especially as a box safety. Really sure tackler, really young. Hopefully, maybe he's looking in that department to probably try to bring him in. He's still on the open market, and I haven't really heard anything about him going anywhere. So maybe we're looking there, but I still think that I think we're going draft for all these needs. I think we're going to try to win through the draft and build this team up through the draft. So I think that's that with at least the safety position, but all the more reason I still like this re-sign. The next guy on the list, and again, I might butcher his name, but Chukwuma Okorafor. He is the tackle from the Patriots and Steelers. So, he was signed on a 1-year contract as well. A big theme that Mougey's doing is he's putting a lot of 1-year deals on these guys. So these might be some 1-year rentals or maybe guys that are on proven deals to see if we can potentially turn them into long-term options for us. But he was a tackle from 2020 to 2022, had over 1,100 plus snaps at right tackle. Has 60 career starts. 59 of them was with the Steelers at right tackle. He did play one game. I think it was 12 total snaps at left tackle for the Patriots last year, where he kind of got absolutely destroyed by Trey Hendrickson. He was an absolute turnstile, and he quit literally right after the game. Literally quit the entire season, and just didn't play another snap in 2024. So obviously no one knows what happened within the walls over there. There was a lot of dysfunction in the Patriots organization throughout the year. Obviously it led to the firing of their head coach, and obviously Vrabel now is there now. So we don't know what's going on, but to me it's a bit concerning. But clearly Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey see something here with this player. He's only 27 years old, has starting experience, and he's 6'6", 320 pounds. You can't teach that size or experience level for a young player. So I think this can be, at worst, someone that could compete for the right tackle spot in year one and can, we can draft a replacement in the mid rounds. But as, this could be a really good depth piece or swing tackle option with starting experience on a cheap 1-year deal, especially because right now our backup right tackles are not great options. Those are guys that I don't see on this team for more than just backups. And I wouldn't even want to go to them in a pinch. We saw this year when guys had to go down and our backups went in, there were not good options whatsoever. So I would not want to have to resort to any of those guys coming into this year. But Nick, This was probably like our most intriguing signing just because at right tackle, we're really limited at this position. But what's your opinion so far on our core four?
I was literally just about to say that. I mean, besides the Justin Fields signing, I mean, both of our top players are coming. Not top, shouldn't say top players. One of my favorite players that we kind of got so far is a Core from just because, like you said, the starting potential of somebody like this. I mean, you don't play 1,100 plus snaps if you're not playing well. If they think you're a turnstile, you're not playing well, they ain't gonna play you. And like you said, our backups, Carter Warren, ain't looking too hot. Max Mitchell, not looking too hot. And it was a rough season. We know we go down with injuries a lot on that line, especially coming from a tough division with the Steelers. And again, who do you get burned by? Team in their division, Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals there. So I mean, I think he, like you said, 6'6", 320, young age. Again, another continuation of what we think Mougey is doing with getting young potential, probable potential. I mean, this guy can easily compete for a starting right tackle spot on the Jets. He would have been, honestly, I think he would have been crazy to turn down a deal like this just for play, prove it deal. Come in and get me. I think he'll be great. I hope he is great. I think he'll compete from day one in camp. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to draft a right tackle, possibly as a backup, possibly starts. But I like the signing just from the age, the size, and just the veteran presence. Not that he's been in the league for 8 years, but just a veteran presence on that line, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we're seeing the theme of like the 25 to 27-year-old guys that are being picked up for these depth options. And like I said, I mean, he's got a lot of experience at the position. We're losing one of the top right tackles in Morgan Moses, which is upsetting to say the least. I really wish we could have kept him along, but it looks like we're not trying to break the bank on any of the guys out there in free agency, considering that there's not really many good options at tackle as we see it. I would have personally liked to bring in Jedrick Wills. Obviously, like I said, if our talent evaluators are seeing something out of this player, it's for good reason. I think his best year was probably like 2 or 3 seasons ago with the Steelers. He had, I think, only had let up like 2 sacks on the year.
Yep.
For the most part, I don't think he's let up that many sacks. I could be wrong. But for the most part, he's been pretty solid. I'm not going to say this is a home run by any stretch of the means, but maybe, like they said, this is probably a stop bridge year for this type of player. And then we might look to go in the mid rounds to try to get the right tackle of the future. Hopefully we can find somebody of that nature. The Jets have been terrible in the mid rounds the last couple of years at picking up guys like that. So we'll find, hopefully the new regime is way better at talent evaluating, and we can go and start actually hitting on tackles and offensive linemen in the mid to late rounds like all these other successful teams do.
Yeah, and I feel like the guy who he lost the job to in Pittsburgh is Broderick Jones. And I'm like 99% sure all Jets fans were game on drafting Broderick Jones, that one pick ahead of us that it was the Patriots, wasn't it? That the Patriots traded away and gave it to him. So, I mean, it's not that he lost out to some Joe Schmo just because he's playing bad. I mean, Broderick Jones, solid right tackle still for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So,
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't had the best year. I think
yeah,
Steelers fans will say differently, but
yeah,
obviously still he lost to a first round pick. So I mean,
yeah,
obviously you're going to lose your spot every single time. But
right.
speaking of the offensive line, we brought in another interior guy with Josh Myers, and I think this is the most intriguing guy out of the bunch simply because of his history. But he was the center from Green Bay Packers, signed on a 1-year contract worth up to $3.5 million. As of right now, he's probably one of the only ones that the contract details have actually come out on. But $3.5 million, again, you're not breaking the bank, but started at center for the Packers for the past 3 seasons. He averaged over 1,000 plus snaps, all coming at the center position. So not really the most versatile player, but you're getting a good, solid pass blocker. Only allowed 1 sack last season, but let up 31 pressures and 24 hurries. That's not the greatest, but at least he was solid in terms of not letting as many people get to the quarterback and finish those plays. So only allowing the 1 sack. But the biggest thing about this signing, and a lot of people are talking about this, was he was the 4-year starter at Ohio State with Justin Fields. So this brings in some much needed depth at the center position behind Joe Tippmann. But there's continuity there. There's a lot of familiarity between Justin Fields and Josh Myers. But one of the biggest problems over the course of the last several seasons has been the health of the Jets' offensive line. You mentioned that before. So grabbing solid pieces can bring in insurance for the interior of the offensive line and can also at least provide chemistry between our new quarterback and this new addition as well. So I like this. I think this is a great pickup just from the continuity aspect alone. He's gonna know what Josh. He's gonna know what our quarterback loves in terms of like his cadence, his style, everything of that nature. So I really like this pickup. I think him and Justin Fields are going to hit it off right away, and I think this could be a great addition for our O-line room.
Yeah,
Give me
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, the continuance of 4 years at Ohio State. Yes, it was quite a few years ago, but you don't forget the quarterbacks that you snap the ball to. You just don't, especially when your name is Justin Fields. So I think yes, and again, you don't play 1,000+ snaps if you're not solid, if you're not good at your job. And I think again, it's a solid backup piece. God forbid something happens. We know Tittman can kind of swing out there. Who again had a solid season or solid plays. Didn't play the whole season there, but solid plays when he needed to bump out last year, 2 years ago, whenever it was needed. So I think bringing this guy in, bringing Josh Myers in is just solid. I mean, bringing the boys literally back in town. Josh Myers, Justin Fields, Ruckert's still there. Garrett Wilson. If we can go get Olave, that'd be like, we might as well just call ourselves the Ohio State Jets. I mean, it is. I mean, it's just cool to see too. But I think it is a solid pickup. I think mine was obviously the last guy. Yours is this guy. I mean, he's solid. There's nothing bad about it. Again, 1 year, 3.5 million, not breaking the bank over a backup. But I think that was it. If we could clean up his pressures and hurries for the quarterback, I think that'd be great. But we do know, God forbid, we don't want the pressures and hurries, but God forbid we do. Justin Fields is able to escape the pocket and kind of get that pass off. So at least we're prepared for something like that now, rather than not that Aaron Rodgers didn't scramble, but now we're more prepared for something if that were to happen.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most frustrating things for Jets fans this past year with Aaron Rodgers is that he was literally like a stone
A
in the pocket.
statue.
Like he couldn't move. He couldn't move at all. So like you said, the best thing is obviously if you do have issues at the offensive line, you know that at least if things, if push comes to shove, Justin Fields is going to be able to utilize his legs to extend plays and just be able to get out of those situations and make something out of nothing. So I think that the mobility aspect is something that's going to be huge. I know that we're probably going to be a heavy run game team, whether it's designed runs for Justin Fields, a lot of Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, RPOs. That's going to probably be the basis of our offense. But in play action situations where Justin Fields is going to get out, use his legs, get out of the pocket and make throws, at least it keeps the defense guessing as what we're going to do in terms of just the mobility aspect of our quarterback. And at least you don't have, like you said, you don't have to worry about getting as many hurries and pressures. But, I digress. But the next guy on our list is another in-house retained guy, and that is Jamin Davis. He is a linebacker that was brought in late last year off a 1-year contract. So nothing, again, the main thing that we're seeing with Darren Mougey is he's throwing out a bunch of 1-year contracts. He's not pushing out a lot of money. We're trying to keep as much money as we can. Again, I feel like this is going to be more so for guys down the road. But, the former Commander first-round pick, he had about 8 career sacks, finished last season with the Jets. Now he is going to be working under Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilks with this defense. Anytime you can get a 6'3", 235-pound former first-round pick who's only 26 years old and offers a ton of versatility as a rotational linebacker on this defense that can help in the run game. And again, that's like the biggest thing with the Jets, getting guys that are good in the run game. We could not stop anybody on the run last year. So getting a guy who's a short tackler like Jamin Davis, he's been really solid in the run game. PFF has him graded very highly in the run game over the last 2 seasons with the Commanders. He's 2 seasons removed from an 80 tackle season, and he had 55 tackles last season in a limited role with the Commanders and had 3 sacks. So this is a guy that when you give him the opportunities and you put him in positions to be successful, he's shown that he can produce. Nobody gets 55 plus tackles and 3 sacks if you don't put him in a position to be successful. This could be a guy that could rush the passer. He can play and he can be a stalwart in the run game. I like the pickup. I think, again, at the least, if you have issues with, Jamien Sherwood or Quincy Williams and you need a rotational linebacker to come in to fill in, this is a guy that at least you could put on short down and distances and know that he's going to be able to stop the run and be able to be a tackling machine for you. Nick, what's your opinion on Jamin Davis?
Yeah, I think this is another good solid pickup. Like you said, God forbid something happens to Jamien Sherwood, Quincy Williams. This is a guy who can come in, step up, give you good good minutes, good tackles, stuff the box, stop the run. I think this is great. I mean, Aaron Glenn again with his experience last year with Detroit, there was no shortage of injuries on that defense that happened last year. Headed by Aiden Hutchinson, of course. I mean, that is just the biggest blow for that team. But I mean, they have guys step in, step up, next man up mentality, and they just keep moving on. And I think this is a home run hit for a backup for us. Absolutely. I mean, we've been kind of known to like get these guys as linebackers, the Jets, and just kind of let them walk. Example, like Blake Cashman, Frankie Louvu, who was playing on the Commanders last year with Davis. Unfortunately, you lose your spot. You have Bobby Wagner. I mean, you're probably going to lose your spot. And Frankie Louvu, absolute animal now. I mean, we let these guys go. Again, keep this guy in house. I love it. I love keeping guys like in house. Keep them in the system. Keep them moving. Like you said, you don't go have an 80 tackle season and 55 last season, 3 sacks on short time. If you're Joe Schmo. So I think this is a great pick, especially at linebacker. Yes, we're solidified with Quincy and Jamian, but this is definitely, you're not a first round pick for nothing here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, Mougey is banking on youth and upside. This is a guy who's a former first round pick. He's still young, 26 years old. Who wouldn't be, excited about the possibility of a young linebacker being in the room? And, with the looming situation with Quincy Williams about potentially he's up for an extension next season. Who knows if the Jets are going to extend him? You can argue. Jamie Sherwood got the bag, but he's still only coming off of one really good season. Quincy had himself an all-pro year the other year, and he's on a bargain. So, I don't think he's going to come cheap. So maybe the Jets are being proactive and seeing what Jamin Davis can do, just in case if he ends up walking. It could be that situation. So you never know. But the next guy on the list, Stone Smart, tight end from the Chargers. Again, a guy that nobody had on the radar.
Zero.
He was actually a restricted free agent with the Chargers that was on a non-tendered deal. Came on late in the season for the Chargers, only had a couple games. I believe he only played like a handful of games, but he only had 16 receptions on 208 yards in a limited role. So this is a guy that didn't play the whole season, but in a handful of games gave you quite a bit of production. And the funny part is, this guy was actually a college quarterback who switched to wide receiver his senior season and has only played tight end for 3 years in the league. And he just started playing tight end. So the Chargers offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, actually said that majority of the time he was just learning a lot of this stuff. And he's come a long way, and he actually considered him as a underrated block. So that's really good, considering that the Jets really need a guy that could be a blocking threat. We thought Rutger was going to be that guy for us last year. He didn't really step up to the plate. He didn't really have the breakout season we thought he was going to have this past year. But again, Mougey is banking on youth here. He's only 26 years old. He's 6'4", 226 pounds. So he's a big body receiving threat that can hopefully be used as another body in this tight end room. And he caught about 75% of his contested catch opportunities. He had 19 targets. He caught 16 of them, majority of which were contested catches. If you go watch this guy's highlights, it's insane the kind of catches that he made from Justin Herbert. So I can only imagine that the Jets could potentially unlock some untapped potential with this guy. Nick, take it away. What are you thinking about this? Obviously, this is somebody that wasn't really on our radar, but, cool to still see guys getting picked up like this from Darren Mougey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most intriguing part, which I didn't know, he was a college QB until we started looking into him, but a college QB turned wide receiver senior season. I mean, right there, I feel like kind of gives you a little bit of an edge. What the QB is kind of looking for. So that's really cool. Like you said, great size, 6'4", 226. Again, pretty sure he's pretty quick. He's a quicker tight end, which is great. I mean, 16 of 19 targets, catching them for contested catches. Who doesn't want that on your team? That's for sure. And like you said, an underrated blocker is solid. I think we saw Rutger play his rookie season. He was blocking. You're like, there he is. We found our guy. We found the blocking tight end that we want. And then last year was an absolute diddly swat, nothing from Rutger for blocking. So I think, we were talking about another blocking tight end in the draft. Great one, Jackson Hawes. So maybe this is our version of a Jackson Hawes. He has some experience. He has NFL experience. So who knows? Maybe we do go sign another tight end, or go draft another tight end in the draft. But I think this guy is. I mean, he's coming in again. Not somebody on my radar. I don't think he was on your radar. I don't think he's on anybody's Jets radar. But I mean, getting high praises from Greg Roman as an underrated blocker, and he really came a long way. I think that says a lot. I don't think coaches say that lightly around the league. I don't think they're just handing out compliments to these kind of guys. So I think we'll see. I hope it pans out really well. I think it could be a steal for us.
Yeah, we never know. I mean, obviously, we don't know what his role is going to be here. We don't know if he's going to be heavily utilized. Like I said, I think this could be a potential opening for Tyler Warren at 7, or maybe in a trade down scenario. Who knows? We might be going tight end in the draft at some point. So I don't think this guy's coming in to be your starter. At best, he's a rotational guy. He might even be like a fringe, a tight end 2. Maybe he's probably looking more so at a tight end 3, tight end 4, depending on how many guys we keep on the roster. But who knows? You never know. But the last guy on the list, and again, another guy that nobody really had on the radar, kind of one of these hidden gem kind of players, hopefully that, Mougey's trying to get off the scrap heap and see what he can get out of him. But Byron Coart, the defensive tackle from the Bears. He's 6'3", 300-pound journeyman interior defensive lineman. He's kind of bounced around a couple of teams over the last couple of seasons. He's still only 28 years old, so on the better side of 30 still. Played 15 games for the Bears last season, started 7 of them. Totaled 51 games played in his entire career. He's made 3 sacks and 17 stops, and was drafted in 2019 in the 5th round by the Patriots. So I can see this more as a rotational interior guy that's just filling bodies at a position of need. As of right now, aside from Quinnen Williams, the only guy that we have at the defensive tackle position right now is Leonard Taylor III. So, I mean, we need bodies at that position. So I see this as more of a depth position signing. I don't see this as somebody who's probably going to be that big of a contributor. I could be wrong. This could, again, Darren Mougey could be bringing in some diamond.
No.
As you never know. Darren Mougey's known as being this big-time talent evaluator for Denver the last several years. So, and same thing with Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn has an eye for talent. He's been a scout at multiple levels. So I can, for all we know, they see something that we don't. These guys just never got the opportunities on their other teams. They might get elevated roles here. We don't know. So, Nick, give us your opinion on this. Obviously this was the latest signing of the day on day 4 today. So, something that we weren't expecting, but, you never know with this new regime.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, another guy that's not on the radar, but again, a position that we are severely lacking in next to Quinnen, with just Leonard Taylor next to him. But 6'3", 300 pounds, journeyman. I mean, there are a ton of good journeymen in the league. You never know. Guy comes in, has a solid year for us. Even just getting 2, 3, 4 sacks possibly on the year could help out Quinnen immensely. Yeah, I think not on the radar, but again, I think this is a totally different kind of offseason that the Jets have had in the past 2, 3 seasons. So I feel like we see a lot of Jets fans, oh my God, we could have got this guy. And don't get me wrong, we are definitely those people too. Like, oh my God, why didn't we go get him? Oh, how they scoop him up for such a small deal? Oh my gosh, how do we miss this? Just let the regime kind of come in, do their thing. This is what happened. I mean, we go in a couple seasons ago, get Le'Veon Bell, boom, big signing, splash, nothing. We go get Aaron Rodgers, Achilles tear, unfortunately. Yes, it was a big signing, had a good season, but boom, a splash, nothing. So I think this is totally opposite. I like that we're kind of building. You look at good teams like this. You look at a team like the Philadelphia Eagles. I guess they have a lot of draft guys that stay in-house at the draft, or they go out and take chances on these guys. Zach Bond, practice squad player, come up starting linebacker, almost highest paid linebacker right now. I think they just made him, or he's up there. So, take a chance on these guys. You never know. We know we're not pushing for a Super Bowl. I would love if that was the truth. But you never know. So I think we gotta give them some time to work. As long as they're working cohesively, like Julian, you just said, Darren Mougey, known as this outstanding talent scout, Aaron Glenn, scout on multiple levels. They could be hitting diamonds in the rough. You don't know. Yeah. So I think this is a totally different thing that we're used to, and we're nervous, we're in uncharted territory. But I think it's interesting. It's different.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's still a bunch of holes on this team. And, I, for one, tried not to get too down on the lack of firepower in these signings, like you mentioned. But, the Jets have tried the winning free agency type signings before in the McCagnon era, and, that didn't work out. So I, for one, am trying to choose to trust that Mougey and AG have a plan in place and that they're trying to set us up for years to come, not just for, 2025 season. So, guys, what are your thoughts on what the Jets did or didn't do in free agency so far? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe if you're new, and as always, guys, go Jets.